Hey, my name is James Nicholson. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I've got a startling update on the growth in homelessness in the UK. It's absolutely astounding on how big this crisis is getting. And the government, in my opinion, their policies are contributing to this. So in this video, I want to really highlight to you how bad this situation is and why I think it's going to get a lot worse in 2026 and beyond. Now, before we jump into this, if you're new around here and you haven't done before, do subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We've just hit 50,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, interest rate news, property investing tips, and market updates, just like this one. And let's get some views on this video. I think this one's important to let people know what's happening because it's not nice, but I think we need to know so we can maybe come up with some solutions to get this fixed. How can you do that? Smash like, tick or like, do something to the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm and that really does help the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So homelessness in the UK is terrible at the moment. It's always bad, but it's getting significantly worse. In fact, this year it's up 11%. And there's a new main cause of homelessness in the UK. It was often domestic violence, and that is something that we need to get sorted and really focus on as well. But the new number one cause is landlords selling their properties. And that isn't good. That's the number one reason why people are presenting to local councils and local housing authorities and saying, we don't have anywhere to live at the moment. So landlord selling is not good. Now, when I make content and I say, hey, landlords are leaving the market, the consensus in the comments from tenants is, good, get rid of the terrible landlords. But here's the thing, when a single unit is sold, that's not bought by BlackRock. That isn't bought by these big corporations. Who buys it is someone that needs that property. So that's good for them. It will be a homeowner, maybe another landlord, but most of the time, 90% of the time, it will be a homeowner that buys that property. And that's good for them because they've come out of the rental market, they've got their asset, they can make that place their own home. But where it's not so good is it shrinks the rental market even more. In fact, the rental market, the size of it, the available properties at the moment is the same size as 2016. But you think the population since 2016 has absolutely boomed. We've got millions more people living on our little tiny island since then. And that's the biggest problem that we've got. So the fact is that landlords are leaving. 30% of landlords quit in the last few years. 50% of landlords are looking to quit now. They're considering leaving because of new policies. So just between April and June this year, 6,700 people became homeless. 6,700 people in just a few short months. That's crazy. And there are 3 times more people becoming homeless because of landlords selling than any other reason. This isn't great. How many people are in temporary accommodation in the UK at the moment? It's a huge amount. The temporary accommodation that we've got is 140 households. That's not people, because some of these places have got 2, 3, 4, 5 people in. That's households, which is crazy. And this is up 11.8% year on year. Up 11.8%. That's going to get worse. So why is this happening? Well, it's very easy for governments to think, yeah, we need to bash someone. We need a common enemy. Let's get people on our side. And landlords has been the easy target for years. They've always been hit by everyone because people see them greedy. People see them as rogue landlords. People see them as giving bad accommodation. But that's not true. Now, there are some bad landlords. I can't argue that. There are definitely some bad landlords. But landlords are held to account. If you have a bad landlord, you can take them to the council already. The council can fine them already. £7,000 for a first offence, £30,000 for a second offence. In the Renters' Rights Bill, that's going to go up to 10 grand and 40 grand for a second offence. So there are already mechanisms to cause problems for landlords, and they do get that. So landlords have to do stuff right. But the biggest landlord that's the problem is the social housing providers. There's a council up north where 35% of their properties aren't fit for a human to live in. 35%. And they're renting them out. A landlord is not that high. There isn't that many problems. There are lots of good landlords. So what we should be doing is not necessarily bashing the landlords. Yes, hold them to a higher standard. Make sure there's no mold. Make sure things get rectified quickly. Totally. That's important. And most landlords, 90% of landlords do that already. But there's a small minority, 10%, that don't. And that's causing the big problem here. Now, why are landlords leaving? Well, there's a few things. You've got something called the Section 24 tax. This has been in for a few years. This means landlords can't deduct costs on their property. So let's say you're a plumber. You get £1,000 for fitting a boiler. You can deduct the cost of the boiler, the cost of basically your petrol, any wages, and various other things like that. Landlords can't. So if they get £1,000 in rent, they used to be able to deduct the cost of the mortgage, which is the biggest cost. They now can't do that anymore. They can deduct some maintenance costs and stuff like that, don't get me wrong, but that isn't happening constantly. So the biggest cost for a landlord is the mortgage. They can't deduct that. So they pay tax on the gross amount of rent, and that could be like 500 quid, 600 quid on £1,000 of rent. And they might be getting taxed 50% on their income, so they could be losing money every single month. That's been something that's pushed a lot of landlords out the market. Next is renters' rights. So a lot of landlords are worried about the Renters' Rights Bill. Some have quit already. Maybe you are one of those. Let me know in the comments below. Renters' Rights Bill, there's lots of good stuff in it, but some of it worries landlords. And the biggest worry for landlords in there at the moment is getting their property back if they're not getting paid rent, if there's unsociable tenants, if they damage the property. Very, very hard to get the property back. Right now, you could do something called a Section 21 no-fault eviction. That's going to be abolished. Then your option's going to be a Section 8. That takes 8 months at the moment to get sorted. So imagine someone's not paying you rent, and you're already 8 months in arrears, right? Sorry, you're already a couple of months in arrears before you even start processing it, that it goes to court. Then, by the time it gets to court, there'll be 10 months in arrears. You don't necessarily get the property back then. You get the verdict, and then you've got to maybe instruct bailiffs. So you might lose 10, 12, 15, or even more rent. And most landlords are only making £2,000 per property. So this worries them. They don't really worry keeping the property in good order. I think that stuff's fine. It's the fact that if someone is a problem, yes, have all this stuff to protect the landlord, but also have a mechanism for a landlord to get the property back if they're not getting paid rent or there is a problem. That's, at the end of the day, making landlords quit. The other thing is the EPC stuff. That's one reason why landlords are worried at the moment. Ed Miliband is saying, look, landlords have got to get it to a level C. If you've got a Victorian property, that's not going to happen. And lots of properties, it's not. So then they're then saying, you've got to spend 15 grand minimum on the property. I just told you landlords make on average £2,000 per property per year. So that's a long time you're going to wait, 7 odd years till you get your money back from doing that. And that's assuming that nothing goes wrong. No boilers break, no tenancy voids, no tenant not paying you rent. So a lot of landlords are quitting now because of the EPC stuff. And the new stuff we've got coming. So in the budget this year, potentially landlords are going to pay national insurance on their rental income. Not great. They're worried about that. That would mean even less money. You might take 2 grand down to £1,000 profit. Why would you do the risk then? And that's why a lot of landlords are quitting, and lots of landlords even watching this channel say that. So if you're a landlord and you're considering leaving, let me know in the comments below. And you've got a barrier to entry to get new landlords in, and that's the stamp duty. So the stamp duty is nearly 10% on new purchases. You buy a 250 grand property, you're paying 25 grand in stamp duty because it's a second home or a rental property. That's not going to bring an influx of new landlords in, as other ones just retire, leave because they don't want it. So the rental market's going to shrink, and the homelessness problem is going to carry on. Now, government is broke. The government doesn't have any money. So you've got 131,000 people in temporary accommodation. That's going to grow. Where's that money going to come from? It's much more expensive to have someone in temporary accommodation than it is to have them in non-temporary accommodation, just a normal property. So it doesn't make logical sense to do this and keep pushing landlords out, shrinking the market. It's an absolute farce. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And if you do want to help out with some homeless charities, I've actually worked with one personally myself. They're called Thames Reach, and I've been on the streets with Thames Reach, and they do a great job. They actually go out looking for people, letting people know what hostels are available. Then they've got this big warehouse where people go and train. Firstly, they get the mental health support. That's important for someone that's living on the streets. Then what they do is they train them. They train them to be carpenters. They train them to do all sorts of trades, decorating, any trade that they want to learn. They can do that for free of charge in the daytime. And they've also got partnerships with John Lewis Group, Waitrose. And so John Lewis are really good. They don't wave a flag, say they do this, but they actually take on a number of people from Thames Reach and then get them back working, and Thames Reach support them and get them some accommodation in that time. And they actually get people off the streets, unlike shelter and generation rent. So if you do want to help with a charity, Thames Reach is your one. I've seen it firsthand. They really do what they say. Let me know in the comments what you think about this homeless crisis, and what would you do if you were in power to fix this. Do smash like, do subscribe, and if you haven't grabbed our ebook yet, How to Save Some Money on Your Mortgage Secrets, is in the first comment. It's in the description. This will help you get a broker. This will help you get the off-market lenders as well. Do grab that and check out all the other content as well on this channel, including this video right here.